Welcome to Minute of Wisdom. Today we're exploring one of the most powerful yet underused tools for navigating modern life, the Socratic method. Not as an academic exercise, but as a practical framework for cutting through noise, dismantling assumptions, and getting closer to what's actually true. Socrates never wrote anything down. Everything we know about him comes through his student Plato. But his influence is undeniable. He walked around Athens asking questions, simple questions that made people realize they didn't actually know what they thought they knew. And for this, he was eventually sentenced to death. The Athenian authorities accused him of corrupting the youth and disrespecting the gods. What he was really doing was threatening the certainties people built their lives on. Today, we don't execute philosophers. We just ignore them. We scroll past complexity. We block dissenting voices. We curate echo chambers where our beliefs are never challenged. Socrates would say we're living unexamined lives. And according to him, that's not really living at all. Let's start with his most famous statement, delivered during his trial. The unexamined life is not worth living. This is not a suggestion. It's a philosophical claim about the very nature of human existence. Socrates is saying that to be human, truly human, requires reflection. It requires stepping back from the automatic patterns, the inherited beliefs, the cultural scripts, and asking, why do I believe this? Why do I live this way? Is this actually mine? Or am I just running someone else's program? Most of us live on autopilot. We wake up, follow routines, repeat behaviors, accept norms, and we call this life. But Socrates would say this is closer to sleep. You're moving through the world, but you're not awake to it. You're not examining it. And without examination, without the active questioning of your own assumptions, you're not fully alive. This doesn't mean obsessive introspection. It doesn't mean paralyzing down. It means cultivating the habit of asking yourself why this choice, why this value, why this belief, and being honest enough to follow the answers wherever they lead, even if they disturb you. Now, his second major insight, I know that I know nothing. This is often misunderstood as false humility or nihilistic skepticism. It's neither. What Socrates is identifying is the difference between knowing and thinking, Most people walk around convinced they understand things they've never actually examined. They have opinions about politics, morality, success, happiness. But if you press them, if you ask them to define their terms, justify their claims, consider counterexamples, the whole structure collapses. Socrates recognized this in himself first. He went to the oracle at Delphi, which declared him the wisest man in Athens. He was baffled. He didn't feel wise. So he went around interviewing people who were supposed to be wise politicians, poets, craftsmen, and he discovered something. They all thought they knew things they didn't actually know. They had confidence without understanding. Socrates realized his wisdom was simply this. He knew the limits of his knowledge. He knew what he didn't know. And that awareness made him wiser than those who were ignorant of their own ignorance. In our world, this is revolutionary. We live in an age of confident ignorance. People hold strong opinions on complex topics they've spent no time studying. Algorithms reward certainty. Nuance is punished. Admitting you don't know something is seen as weakness. Socrates would say the opposite. Admitting you don't know is the beginning of wisdom. It's the only honest starting point for inquiry. Third principle. We must follow the argument wherever it leads. This is harder than it sounds. Most of us don't follow arguments. We follow conclusions we've already decided on, and then look for arguments that support them. This is confirmation bias. This is motivated reasoning. This is the opposite of Socratic inquiry. Socrates is saying, let go of your attachment to the conclusion. Be willing to be wrong. Be willing to discover that your cherished belief doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Follow the logic, the evidence, the reasoning, even if it takes you somewhere uncomfortable, even if it contradicts what you want to be true. This requires intellectual courage and intellectual humility. You have to value truth more than being right. You have to be more curious than defensive. And in a culture that treats being wrong as humiliation, this is countercultural, but it's the only way to think clearly. Fourth principle, borrowed from the Delphic oracle, but central to Socratic practice, know thyself. This doesn't mean know your personality, type, or your strengths and weaknesses in some abstract sense. It means know your actual motivations, your desires, your contradictions, your self-deceptions. Be honest about why you do what you do. Most people lie to themselves constantly. They tell themselves they're motivated by principle. When they're motivated by fear, they claim they value truth when they really value comfort. They say they want growth when they really want validation. Socratic self-knowledge is ruthless. It's looking at yourself without the flattering narrative, without the justifications, just the raw facts of your behavior and the real reasons behind it. This is painful, but it's also liberating, because once you see yourself clearly, you can actually change. As long as you're operating from self-deception, you're stuck. Now let's get into the framework, the actual method Socrates used. It's not complicated, but it's rigorous, and it can be applied to any claim, any belief, any argument, including your own. Step 1, define your terms. What exactly do you mean by that word? This sounds trivial. It's not. Most confusion, most disagreement, most muddy thinking comes from undefined terms. People argue about success without defining success, about happiness without defining happiness, about justice, freedom, truth without ever clarifying what they actually mean by these words. Socrates would start every inquiry here. You say you value freedom. Okay, what is freedom? You say this policy is just. Define justice. You say you want to be successful. What does that word mean to you? Often people can't answer, or their answer is circular, or it's borrowed from someone else and doesn't actually fit their life. Defining terms forces clarity, and clarity reveals whether you actually understand what you're talking about. Step 2, expose the hidden assumptions. What are you taking for granted? Every argument rests on premises, often unspoken. Socrates would draw these out. You say hard work leads to success. Okay, you're assuming success is defined by wealth or status. You're assuming effort correlates with outcome. You're assuming the playing field is level. Are those assumptions true? Can you defend them? When you expose assumptions, you often find that the argument collapses because the assumptions don't hold, or they're contested, or they benefit certain people and harm others. This doesn't mean the conclusion is wrong, but it means you need to rebuild the argument on more solid ground. Step 3, demand evidence. Why do you believe that? What's your justification? This is where most contemporary discourse falls apart. People make claims without evidence, or with anecdotal evidence, or with evidence they haven't actually verified. Socrates would press, how do you know? Where did you get that information? Is the source reliable? Is there contrary evidence you're ignoring? This isn't about being pedantic. It's about intellectual honesty. If you can't justify your belief, if you're just repeating something you heard or something that feels true, you don't actually have knowledge. You have opinion. An opinion isn't worthless, but it's not the same as justified belief. Step 4, look for counterexamples. Are there cases where your claim doesn't hold? This is the test of universality. You say honesty is always the best policy. Okay, what about when honesty would endanger someone's life? You say capitalism is the most efficient system. What about market failures, externalities, crises? Every strong claim invites counterexamples. And if your claim can't withstand them, it needs to be revised or abandoned. Socrates loved finding contradictions, not to humiliate people, but to show them their thinking wasn't as tight as they assumed. A good counterexample is worth 1,000 affirmations. It reveals the limits of your principle. Step 5, consider the implications. If this claim is true, what follows? Often people hold beliefs without thinking through the consequences. You believe in absolute free speech. Okay, does that mean no libel laws? No restrictions on incitement to violence? You believe government should never interfere in markets. Does that mean no environmental regulations? No labor protections? Following implications exposes whether you're willing to accept the full, logical consequences of your position. Often you're not. Often you want the rhetorical force of the principle without its uncomfortable results. Socrates would force you to choose either accept the implications or modify the principle. Step 6, test for internal consistency. Do your beliefs contradict each other? Most people hold contradictory beliefs without realizing it. They value freedom but support policies that restrict it. They claim to prioritize family but organize their lives around work. They say they care about the environment but live in ways that accelerate its destruction. Socrates would point out these contradictions, not to judge but to provoke thought, because contradictory beliefs create internal conflict. And internal conflict makes clear action impossible. You need coherence. Not perfect coherence, but enough that your values and your actions align. Step 7, reach a provisional conclusion. What can we say for now? Notice provisional. Socrates didn't arrive at absolute truths. He arrived at better approximations. More justified beliefs, fewer contradictions. He was comfortable with uncertainty, with saying, I don't know yet, but here's what seems most reasonable given what we've examined. This is the opposite of dogmatism. Dogmatism says I have the truth, inquiry is closed. Socratic inquiry says I have a working hypothesis, let's keep testing it. This is intellectual maturity. This is how you stay open without being gullible, skeptical without being cynical. Now let's make this concrete. Let's apply this to your life right now. Here are 7 questions Socrates would want you to ask yourself. First, what are your core terms and have you defined them? Pick 3 words you use all the time: success, happiness, productivity, authenticity. Whatever they are, now define them. Not with a dictionary. In your own words. What do you actually mean when you say you want to be successful? If you can't define it clearly, you can't pursue it meaningfully. You're chasing a word, not a reality. Second, when you encounter a claim on social media, do you look for evidence and counterexamples? Most people don't. They see a statistic, a quote, a headline, and if it confirms what they already believe, they accept it. If it contradicts their beliefs, they dismiss it. Socrates would say, stop. What's the source? Is it credible? What's the context? Is there contradicting data? Don't outsource your thinking to algorithms and strangers. Third, pick one belief you're certain about. What are its hidden assumptions and who benefits from them? This is uncomfortable. We don't like interrogating our certainties, but certainties are often ideology in disguise. You're certain hard work pays off. Who benefits from that belief? The system that underpays labor while celebrating hustle culture. You're certain meritocracy is real. Who benefits? Those already at the top who can claim they earned it. I'm not saying these beliefs are false. I'm saying examine them. See what's underneath. See who profits from your unquestioning acceptance. Fourth, are you confusing busyness with value? We live in a culture that glorifies being busy. Full calendars, packed schedules, no downtime. And we assume this means we're productive, important, successful. Socrates would ask, why? Why must you be busy? What are you avoiding by never being still? What are you producing with all this activity? And if you stop, what would you lose? Really? What would actually be lost? Often the answer is nothing essential. We're busy because everyone else is busy, because rest feels like failure, because we've internalized productivity as identity. But busyness is not virtue. It's often distraction. Fifth, how does comparison control you? We compare constantly. Income, status, appearance, achievements. Social media has made this ubiquitous and toxic, and comparison dictates our choices. We want things because others have them. We feel inadequate because others seem further ahead. Socrates would ask, what if you stopped? What if you removed comparison as a variable? What would you actually want? What would you actually do? The answer might be radically different from the life you're currently living. Sixth is your anger based on fact or interpretation. You're angry about something, a situation, a person, a policy. Socrates would ask, what are the facts? What actually happened? And then what's your interpretation of those facts? Often the anger is rooted not in the facts, but in the story you're telling yourself about the facts. And if you change the story, if you consider alternative interpretations, the anger shifts. Maybe it's still justified. Maybe it's not. But at least you're clear about what you're reacting to. Seventh, did you consider even once today that you might be wrong? This is the hardest one. We defend our positions reflexively. We double down when challenged. We treat changing our mind as weakness. Socrates would say this is intellectual suicide. If you're never wrong, you're never learning. If you're never uncertain, you're never thinking. Practice this once a day. Pick one thing you believe and genuinely entertain the possibility that you're mistaken. Not as a game, as a real intellectual exercise. What would it mean if you were wrong? What evidence would convince you? Can you even imagine being convinced? If not, you're not holding a belief. You're holding an identity. And that's dangerous. Here's what Socrates understood that we've forgotten. Thinking is not something you do once and then you're done. Thinking is a practice, a discipline, like physical exercise. You have to do it regularly, rigorously, honestly. And most people don't. They mistake having opinions for thinking. They mistake certainty for understanding. They mistake information consumption for inquiry. Real thinking, Socratic thinking, is uncomfortable. It destabilizes you. It forces you to confront your contradictions, your ignorance, your motivated reasoning. It requires you to hold your beliefs lightly enough to examine them, but seriously enough to live by them. And here's the promise: if you do this, if you examine your life, your beliefs, your choices, you become harder to manipulate. You become clearer. You make better decisions. You experience less internal conflict. You engage in more honest conversations. You become, in Socrates' terms, more fully alive. Not because you have all the answers, but because you're asking the right questions and you're willing to follow them wherever they lead. This week, I invite you to practice one Socratic move. Pick one belief you hold strongly and subject it to the 7-step method. Define terms, expose assumptions, demand evidence, find counterexamples, consider implications, test consistency, reach a provisional conclusion, see what happens. You might find your belief strengthens. You might find it needs revision. You might find it collapses entirely. All 3 outcomes are valuable. All 3 are learning. The unexamined life, Socrates said, is not worth living. Not because it's morally bad, but because it's not fully conscious. You're sleepwalking, and you don't have to. You can wake up, you can question, you can think. That's what philosophy offers. Not answers, but the tools to find better questions. And better questions lead to better lives. Thank you for these 10 minutes. Subscribe to Minute of Wisdom for more frameworks for living with greater clarity and less certainty. And remember, the wisest thing you can say is, I don't know. Everything else follows from there. See you next time.